The film kicks off in a festive Plymouth, Massachusetts, where Thanksgiving preparations are in full swing. Even the local sheriff, Eric, joins the holiday spirit with a visit to his friend Mitch's house for a pre-dinner chat with Mitch's wife, Amanda. However, their jovial mood is dampened by Mitch's sudden work call. As manager of Wright Mart, the town's biggest supermarket, he's obligated to be present for the highly anticipated Black Friday sale starting that very night. Meanwhile, across town, a grand Thanksgiving feast unfolds at the luxurious home of Thomas Wright, owner of the Wright Mart chain. Tensions simmer between Thomas's daughter, Jessica, and his fiancée, Kathleen. Jessica's boyfriend, Bobby, a promising baseball player, also joins the gathering. The scene then shifts to the bustling Wright Mart parking lot, teeming with thousands of eager shoppers waiting for the Black Friday sale to begin in a mere 10 minutes. Back at the Wright residence, the dinner seems to be wrapping up. Jessica and Bobby's friends, Evan, with his girlfriend, Gabby, Scuba, newly dating Yulia, they take a moment to taunt their rival school, Hanover, before heading out. Fueled by newfound coupledom, Scuba and Yulia enjoy their blossoming romance, while Evan navigates the joys and frustrations of dating Gabby. Stuck in traffic due to the Black Friday frenzy, while driving, Evan decides to make a pit stop to trade in his outdated phone. Since Jessica is the owner's daughter, they get VIP access through the back entrance. In Bobby's absence, Jessica bumps into a smitten friend, Ryan, who tries to usher her into the store. However, Bobby swiftly steps in and whisks her away, much to Ryan's annoyance. Meanwhile, the impatient crowd outside grows increasingly agitated. By now, Sheriff Eric and Amanda have also arrived at the store, delivering food to Amanda's husband. Lonnie, a student from Hanover, spots the rival students inside and explodes with rage. He fuels the crowd's anger and demands entry. Suddenly, the flimsy barrier holding back the crowd snaps, and thousands surge towards the store. Trapped by the locked main gate, many bodies press against the glass wall, triggering a stampede that worries Mitch and the guards. Before they can react, the glass shatters, unleashing chaos inside. People stampede haphazardly, fighting for merchandise. Terrified, most kids seek shelter, but Evan, hungry for fame, climbs onto a table to record the whole scene. Amidst the pandemonium, Bobby tries to assist an injured guard, but someone accidentally tramples his arm, causing a severe fracture. Amanda is also fighting for survival, but as she seeks refuge, a shopping cart slams into her head. Tragically, the cart rips off a part of her scalp, killing her instantly. When Mitch sees her lifeless body, it's already too late. After multiple casualties and injuries, Sheriff Eric fires a warning shot into the air, restoring semblance of control. The scene cuts to a year later, on Thanksgiving Eve. Evan's video has gone viral, garnering widespread attention. A news report announces that despite last year's disaster, Wright Mart is once again holding Black Friday sales. The festive spirit is overshadowed by protests against Wright Mart's upcoming Black Friday sale. Mitch, the store manager and widower from last year's tragedy, joins the throng of protesters. Though the Wright family was cleared of wrongdoing by the police, public scorn lingers. Thomas Wright desperately attempts to salvage his reputation through charity work, but public opinion remains harsh. The incident also claimed another victim, Bobby, whose career-ending injury has shrouded him in mystery. Adding to the unease, security cameras within the store inexplicably malfunctioned that fateful night, fueling rumors of tampering. The next morning, Sheriff Eric and his deputy grab breakfast at a local diner. The waitress, Lizzie, presents them with John Carver masks. The deputy explains the tradition of honoring the colony's first mayor by donning these masks during the holiday season. Meanwhile, the teenagers attempt a semblance of normalcy at a local fair. The girls grapple with a persistent Instagram user who keeps tagging them in a haunting video of the stampede. Despite repeated reports, the video keeps resurfacing. Jessica, alongside her stepmother Kathleen, then meets Sheriff Eric for a visit to the John Carver house, where a Wright Mart advertisement is scheduled to be filmed. Upon arrival, their festive mood is shattered, the house has been vandalized, and a prop axe is missing. Given the historical significance of the location, the sheriff vows to apprehend the culprit, treating the case with utmost seriousness. Later that afternoon, the crew assembles at a diner for a midday meal. As their conversation flows, Jessica catches Bobby leaving the diner. She discloses that they haven't spoken in over a year. Suddenly, the whole group is tagged in an Instagram post by a mysterious John Carver, who claims their Thanksgiving table is ready. However, they brush it off. We discover Jessica has begun dating Ryan, tired of waiting for Bobby and ready to move on, even though Evan is suspicious of him. An unsettling feeling washes over Jessica as she spots a masked figure flicker outside, then vanish. The scene cuts to a shadowy figure, likely the one Jessica saw, intently watching footage of the stampede. This enigmatic man then sets his sights on Lizzie, a waitress at the local diner. Across the diner, Lizzie finishes her shift and heads for the exit. Just as she reaches for the door, a figure wearing John Carver's mask ambushes her. Lizzie fights back, clawing at the attacker and managing to flee. However, blood on her hands renders her phone useless. With nowhere to turn, she sprints out the back door, scrambling towards her car. Unfortunately, the killer anticipates her escape and is already waiting. He chases her in her car, then slams it into a dumpster, severing her body. This gruesome discovery turns out to be a twisted act of vengeance. Lizzie is revealed to be the same woman who inadvertently killed Amanda with a shopping cart. The next morning, a horrifying scene unfolds as a massive crowd gathers outside Right Mart. The lower half of Lizzie's body has been placed on display atop the store. Sheriff Eric isn't one to let a murder go unsolved. He suspects a connection between Lizzie's killing and the previous year's Black Friday riot at Right Mart. Examining the diner's CCTV footage with a forensic expert, they're met with a chilling sight: the masked killer in all their John Carver glory. At another part of the school, panic sets in for Evan when a photo of Lizzie's mangled body surfaces on the mysterious John Carver account. The photo is tagged with him and his friends. Jessica then notices a chilling detail: all their names are scrawled on the dinner table. Frantic, she calls her dad, detailing the murder and the unsettling Instagram posts. However, Thomas Wright remains unfazed, insisting the Black Friday sales will continue as scheduled. In the following scene, Sheriff Eric summons the group for questioning at the police station. He urges Jessica to divulge any hints she might possess, but she remains tight-lipped for now. Outside, she bumps into Bobby, who's back in town to help his uncle. Bobby confesses that when he broke his arm, he blamed Jessica for the trip to the store. This led him to vanish for an entire year, a decision he now regrets. Jessica then reveals a secret: her stepmother, Kathleen, deleted the security footage, fearing potential lawsuits. Thankfully, there's a backup copy in her dad's office, and she plans to retrieve it. Disrupting their conversation, Ryan arrives and greets Jessica with a kiss on the cheek, sparking a hint of jealousy in Bobby. Meanwhile, Manny, a security guard present on the fateful night, is packing his bags to flee town. The recent murders have unnerved him. Just as he's about to leave, he discovers a John Carver mask on his couch. Terror grips him, and he grabs a bat, attempting to scare off the killer. However, his bravado proves futile. Having claimed the guard's head as a gruesome trophy, the deranged killer feeds the only witness to his atrocities before vanishing without a trace. Later, the scene became even more macabre as the murderer added Manny's head to the grisly display on the dinner table, positioned next to the upper half of Lizzie's body. The next morning, Jessica was met with a horrifying sight: a picture of the victims posted on the killer's social media, a sickening testament to his depravity. Fearing she's next, she quickly retrieves security footage and rushes to report it to the sheriff, oblivious to Ryan lurking outside her house. Meanwhile, back in Hanover, Lonnie, the mastermind behind the stampede, is leading a training session for younger students. Later, seeking privacy, he and his girlfriend find a secluded room for some intimacy. Deciding to spice things up, she climbs onto a trampoline and starts undressing. However, before she realizes it, the killer silently twists Lonnie's neck from behind. Unaware of her boyfriend's fate, the girlfriend continues. Tragically, the killer takes advantage, thrusting a knife beneath the trampoline, delivering a fatal blow. In the subsequent scene, Sheriff Eric is informed about the murders and advises the young people to stay safe. Evan and Gabby then proceed to their classroom to fetch their bags, while Jessica waits for them outdoors. Unfortunately, the assailant appears and incapacitates both of them. Jessica subsequently receives a message from Gabby, urging her to join them. When she goes to check on them, the attacker emerges and assaults her, prompting her to flee. Jessica dashes into a science laboratory and conceals herself. Shortly after, the assailant enters the room with the intention of eliminating her, while Jessica blends in with several mannequin heads. Eventually, the assailant discovers Jessica, but she temporarily blinds him by using hairspray. After this, she escapes outside, where Sheriff Eric and the others reassure her. She pleads with Eric to rescue her friends, but it seems the assailant has already fled. Afterward, Scuba realizes that the police are ineffective. That night, he takes Jessica to a local drug dealer's residence to procure a firearm. He intends to confront and eliminate the assailant. Meanwhile, Yulia's anxious father decides to relocate her and stations a guard outside, packing their belongings to depart. Despite the security measures, the assailant manages to infiltrate the house, using a silenced firearm to kill both the guard and Yulia's father. Meanwhile, Yulia is on a video call with her boyfriend Scuba when this tragic event occurs. After disabling Yulia's communication, the assailant seizes her phone and waves at Scuba. In a desperate bid to save Yulia, Scuba and Jessica race to her apartment. However, they arrive too late, finding the killer holding a blade to her throat. Scuba reacts instinctively, aiming his gun at the attacker. But a sickening realization dawns: the safety is still engaged. The killer seizes the opportunity, throwing Yulia onto a whirring buzzsaw used for the home renovations, ending her life instantly. With a growing body count linked to this unidentified assailant, the police devise a daring plan. They hope to draw him out during the Thanksgiving parade by using Jessica and her family as bait. Kathleen initially resists, but the urgency to stop the bloodshed compels them to agree. The scene cuts to the parade, where Jessica's family and Scuba stand anxiously on the back of a flatbed truck. Police are strategically positioned, ready to apprehend the killer when he appears. They anticipate him wearing his signature John Carver mask, but a new wrinkle emerges: another person dons the same mask. To everyone's horror, the true killer arrives disguised as a grotesque clown. In a scene of utter chaos, he decapitates a turkey mascot and throws smoke bombs into the crowd. Jessica's family and Scuba scramble to escape, but the killer overpowers them with tranquilizers and whisks them away. When Kathleen regains consciousness, a horrifying realization hits her: the killer possesses culinary skills, preparing her like a Thanksgiving turkey. Seizing a brief window while he checks the oven, she makes a daring escape. Trapped upstairs with no immediate escape route, she remains concealed, the killer's footsteps echoing as he hunts for her. Believing she's alone, the murderer exits. But in a flash, the psycho lunges at the wall, stabbing it with his garden fork. Tragically, he eventually captures her and throws her into a fiery death in the oven. Later, the killer presents Kathleen's charred remains at the dinner table, sending chills down everyone's spines. Jessica, her father, Scuba, Evan, and Gabby are all bound to chairs, forced to witness the killer's descent into madness. He starts by grabbing a hammer, switches on his Instagram Live, and savagely bludgeons Evan to death. Then, he slices off a piece of Kathleen's roasted flesh, attempting to feed it to a terrified Thomas Wright. In the midst of this horror, Jessica manages to free herself using a special ring acquired from a local drug dealer. She discreetly passes it to Scuba, who also breaks free. Together, they attack the killer, drawing him away from the table. After a frantic chase through tunnels, they reach the John Carver house. Scuba sustains a deep slash on his arm, while Jessica escapes through the back door. The killer pursues her, abandoning the wounded Scuba. Jessica races through the forest, reaching the town center where she finds Sheriff Eric unconscious on the road. As she tries to help him, she spots a figure wearing a John Carver mask entering a nearby warehouse. Believing it's the killer, Jessica grabs the sheriff's gun and charges inside. To her utter surprise, she discovers it's Bobby. In that moment, the sheriff bursts onto the scene, urging Jessica to flee. A series of 3 gunshots erupts from the warehouse. Eric, shaken, informs her that he fired at Bobby, who however managed to escape. As the police arrive, Jessica receives the welcome news that her friends and father have been rescued. With the cops gone, Eric vows to find and capture Bobby. But a crucial detail catches Jessica's eye: brambles clinging to his shoes, identical to the ones she encountered in the woods. This chilling realization dawns on her: the killer is none other than the sheriff himself. Sheriff Eric, sensing his facade crumbling, finally breaks down and confesses. He reveals that after losing his wife, Amanda entered his life, offering solace and pulling him from the depths of despair. Their love blossomed, and Amanda, pregnant with his child, planned to leave Mitch. However, their future was tragically cut short that fateful night at Wright Mart. Consumed by vengeance, Eric plotted revenge against everyone responsible for Amanda's death. He admits to framing Bobby, but the boy, in an act of self-defense, struck him on the head and fled, leaving Eric unconscious on the road. As Eric spills his dark secret, Jessica stuns him further. She's been live streaming his confession on her phone. Eric lunges for a tranquilizer, but Bobby appears in the nick of time, saving Jessica. With Bobby at her side, they dash into the warehouse, desperately trying to outrun the sheriff as he closes in, his signature axe glinting in the sun. Jessica throws an object as a distraction, then activates a gas cylinder that inflates a giant, flammable balloon. They scramble to a nearby car, but before they can escape, Eric uses a vehicle cable to tether the car to a pole, preventing them from leaving. As the killer closes in, Jessica resorts to her final tactic. She fires a projectile from a jury-rigged weapon at the balloon. The resulting explosion is so powerful that it throws the sheriff clear, killing him instantly. In the chaotic aftermath, Bobby is whisked away in an ambulance, and Jessica rejoins Ryan, Gabby, and Scuba. The film concludes with the authorities unable to locate the sheriff's remains, leading them to believe he was vaporized in the blast. That's all for today, folks. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.